What's good, people? Thank you as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. All right, let's get into this. It's Q&A time. It's past midnight. I can't lie to you. It's 12:30. I'm about to say Sunday evening, but it's not. It's Monday morning. But I need to get this done because I fly out on Tuesday. I'm not going to have any time to do it whilst there. Thank you to everyone that got a question in. Well over 100 questions. So thank you so much. Honestly, I really do appreciate it. I know I say it all the time, but I do. Which is why I'm going to make sure I answer every single question. So if it goes past 30, 40, 50, an hour, we're getting it done regardless. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. First questions are from Ian Hamilton, who sent them to me on Twitter. First question he asked, if there was one all-time great sporting moment that you could be at, what would it be? Two. First one would be Liverpool Champions League final 2004, 5 Istanbul. That must have been ridiculous. That must have been, like, we're 3-0 down. We're 3-0 down at half time. Can you imagine it? I know even if you don't support Liverpool, just imagine it. 3-0 down at half time to AC Milan, arguably the best team in Europe at the time, Pirlo and Kaká in midfield. And we came back and beat them on penalties. Unbelievable. So that would be my number one. My number two would be Atlanta Olympics 1996. Michael Johnson, 200-meter final, where he smokes Frankie Fredericks and Atul Boldin. I don't think I've ever mentioned Michael Johnson on this YouTube channel, but he is one of my heroes. Honestly, in an era where everyone was juicing up to their grills, I still believe and wholeheartedly think that he was innocent, and he obliterated the world record at the time. So that would be my second sporting moment. If you could only interview Stone Cold or The Rock, who would it be? Probably Stone Cold. Especially if he stays in character. I mean, how difficult would that interview be? A Stone Cold interview. The Rock would give you everything. Stone Cold wouldn't give you nothing. So you'd have to ask the best questions to get a reaction from him. So that would definitely be my number one interview. Who are the 3 most popular black sports people in the world right now? Interesting question. I'd say LeBron James, Serena Williams, and probably Colin Kaepernick. Although he isn't playing right now. I mean, no NFL team has signed him up just because of what he done, taking the knee, the impact it had across the globe. I think he'd probably be the 3rd most popular. Do you think Lewis Hamilton would join Ferrari eventually? Yeah, he's got to be. That's the pinnacle of the sport. I mean, you've got to drive that red car. You think of the people that are his heroes that have driven that car, especially when you think of Michael Schumacher and his relationship with Michael Schumacher. So, yeah, Ferrari. He's going to get there. He's going to get there. If not, obviously not next season, but I wouldn't be shocked if 2021 he's driving that beautiful red machine. If you could work with one great boxing commentator, who would it be and why? Ian Darke or Jim Lampley? Good question. I think Ian Darke, I think he's the best British boxing commentator we've ever had. I know people might disagree, but growing up for me in the 90s, all I heard was Ian Darke's voice. I don't know why Sky got rid of him. I don't know if he was too controversial. Obviously, he now does a lot of football stuff, and I think he's a fantastic commentator. But in saying that, Jim Lampley is just the voice for me. When I think of boxing in America during that Tyson era, which was, for me, the greatest era, or one of the greatest eras anyway, Jim Lampley's voice was the voice I vividly remember as a kid. So Jim Lampley would definitely be the choice. But again, not sleeping on Ian Darke. Ian Darke was fantastic. All right, let's go straight into YouTube. First question is from Cedric Zelmat. Do you think Vladimir in his prime can easily beat AJ, Fury or Wilder? Or did he have easy opponents at the best of time? I think he would smash, and I mean this, smash through AJ and Wilder. I think Fury would be a bit more difficult because of his style. I think Fury would be difficult for a lot of the greats. And I honestly do mean that, just because his style was quite difficult to work at, and he's 6'9". But I think, look at what Vladimir done to AJ, 41-year-old Vlad. Can you imagine Vlad in his prime, 35, 36, and rip through both of them? I think he's one of the underrated heavyweights of all time. It's not his fault that these heavyweights that are around in his peak were around, right? He had a run of 9 years unbeaten. 9 years. He would have destroyed Josh and Deontay Wilder. Regardless of how big a punch they are, he also was a big puncher. Go and look at what he done to Pulev when Pulev tried to size him up, frighten him. Sheriff Bigley, 7087, asked, why do you think Spencer Fearon received so much hate online You've collabed with him in the past. How do you find him? From my own personal experience, he's amazing. He's amazing. Quick story. When me and Ryan did Box Talk, and he mentioned the collab here, me and Ryan done Box Talk, and we reached out to Spencer. We used to see him at events, and we reached out to him and said, Spence, do you mind coming down to our house, or Ryan's house at the time? Ryan lived in Leighton. Spence was in Brixton, and do Box Talk with us. And he said, yeah, why not? And we thought, yeah, he's just talking. He reached out to us and said, when can he come down? He came down in an Uber, which I think was about £30, and left in an Uber. So he basically came and spent 60 quid of his own money to come down and sit with us for nearly 2 hours and talk boxing. I mean, how can you hate a guy like that? And the next question you ask is, will Daniel Dubois ever come out of his seemingly rabbit in the headlights shell in interviews? No, that's just him. That's just him, right? He is quite boring. And you know, the funny thing is, and I feel sorry for all combat sport artists. I mean, Messi's boring in interviews. How boring is Messi? But no one cares, because once he delivers on the field, that's all that matters. It's almost like combat artists or combat sport artists have to do a bit of both, right? You've got to deliver on the field and off the field. And I think that is just so unfair. Will O'Hara Davis ever be a world champion? No, he won't be, especially not 140 pounds. I just don't think he's got what it takes to get there. In saying that, it depends. I mean, are you talking about a regular belt? I mean, look, Rocky Fielding went to Germany and got a regular belt, and I never ever thought he would be world champion. So he might win one of those fringe titles, but in terms of the legit title, unfortunately not. Who's the baddest motherfucker out of Thanos, Lord Voldemort, or the usual suspects, Kaiser Sose? Usual suspects, Kaiser, all day long. If you've not seen it, if you're watching this channel and you're 15, 16, stop watching right now, put on Usual Suspects, and you'll understand what he's saying. I mean, he tricked me right until the last 2 minutes of the movie. And I've watched that movie back and I still don't know how he tricked me. Great movie. JT says, doesn't matter what you get for your exam results. Does it decide your future? Like to hear your opinions on this. Not for me, JT. I have to be honest with you. Again, talking from personal experience, I done very well in school, GCSEs. College, I fucked up. I went to an all-boys school, and in college there were girls sitting next to me, and that was that. And look where I am now. I'm not as into boast, but I do think if you put hard work in, you can get there. And then I look at my sister, who's my biggest inspiration. My sister had a kid when she was very young. So college was a no-no, didn't do university. She's now literally on her way to San Francisco. Fingers crossed, the final interview of a job which pays high six figures. So again, if you want it, you'll get it. And I just feel like too much is made of not just exam results in school, but in college and university. Too much. Leo Bryan says, Ade, will you start a new boxing basement? Probably not, if I'm honest with you. I mean, that's something that me and Ryan did together, and I almost want to leave it as that. I will start something similar, but a lot of people have asking stuff like This Week in Boxing, Boxing Basement. It's difficult to even try and compare it to how me and Ryan did it. I need another Ryan for that, and there won't be ever will be another Ryan. Not like he's dead or anything. Connor DeQuan says, what are your thoughts on Caleb Plants and his performance against, can never pronounce this guy's name, Uzkatagui? Good performance. Good bloody performance. And even better performance when you consider that Caleb Plants only had, I think, 17 fights. Us in the UK, like, screaming and shouting for Anthony Yard to fight someone who's had also 17, 16 fights, and everyone's like, it's too early. It wasn't for Caleb Plant. Good performance, got the 2 knockdowns, was in trouble sometimes, but I think he almost, I don't know, showed more experience in his record to kind of hang on, get in there and do well. The problem for him is I think he now will become the hunted. A lot of people will look at that performance. A lot of other guys at 160 and 168 and think, we can do this guy. So he's still got a lot to learn, but for 17 fights, putting on that kind of performance, again, fantastic. Boxing Monkey says, who wins in a 2019 fight? An out-of-shape Naseem Hamed or an out-of-shape Ricky Hatton? An out-of-shape Ricky Hatton. I mean, Ricky Hatton's still doing the road work, still hitting the bags, still trains. Naseem Hamed looks like he drinks and eats shit every single day. But don't get it twisted. In their heyday, if there was a catchweight, Naseem smokes him for me. Smokes him. Mr. Ish T says, do you think if Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury were with Matchroom, they'll be on top of the boxing world? Remember, they've got strong personalities and really good talkers, and Sky backing them will be so big for them market-wise. Yes and no. I do think that we have this mindset that Matchroom seem to make stars. I disagree. Matchroom have one of the biggest stables, if not the biggest stable of fighters in the world, but you only have maybe 2 or 3 stars, right? That's it. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If you have a little something like Tony Bellew or Dillian White, they can turn that little something into something big. But if you don't have a personality, they're not doing anything. Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders have personality, so I definitely think they would be stars. Malnourished Matty says, with Klitschko saying it's fake news, he's coming back. Who do you think is likely to replace AJ at Wembley if he does take the Miller fight in America? No one. I think that date gets scrapped. And look, the problem is, look, they did try and get Amir Khan, Kell Brook. I know that for a fact. Someone did tell me that for Wembley. Obviously, that fight didn't happen. There was even talks about Vasyl Lomachenko versus Anthony Crolla. That wouldn't ever, ever fill Wembley. That's the problem, right? Wembley's 90,000. So even if they get a good fight that fills 40, it's going to look empty. I was there for Povetkin AJ at Wembley, and they say it was 80-something thousand. It wasn't. It was about 70-something thousand. And even with that massive attendance, because it looked empty around the top kind of tier, it didn't feel right. Obviously, they dimmed the lights down and blacked that bit out, but on TV, it probably looked amazing. When you're there, you can see a lot of empty seats. So unless they get someone that can do 80, 90,000, which they can't, the whole date's getting scrapped. Boxing United says, who is your top 5 people who talk boxing on YouTube or podcasts? I don't really listen to a lot of YouTubers. I can't lie to you. I mean, sometimes I tune into Ultra, Hatman, Dante's Boxing. He talks a lot of good stuff. The more people I listen to are the professionals, and I don't mean to belittle what we do, but the 4 people I listen to when it comes to boxing and mixed martial arts: Paulie Malignaggi, Max Kellerman for boxing, and Ariel Helwani and Luke Thomas for mixed martial arts. Literally, I probably listen to those guys about 4 to 5 hours a day. And I want everyone, look, whatever your profession, whatever, if it's you want to do this, listen to the people that will educate you. And those guys educate me a lot, and I've learned so much just listening to them. Global Frank 95 says, MJ or LeBron? MJ all day. I'm not even having LeBron in this conversation yet. I honestly do believe that. I mean, a lot of it's been made about MJ versus LeBron. What about Kobe? What about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? What about Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, or others? I think MJ is gone, and I think LeBron, although 16 years in the league, 16 years in MVP, 16 years in All-Star, I don't know. I think you've got to get a couple more rings, and he's not going to do it with the Lakers, unfortunately. Hogboy 1967 says, Celtic or Rangers? Boy, come on. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, and Liverpool's best ever player for me is the manager of Rangers. But in saying that, growing up, Henrik Larsson, Celtic, it's got to be Rangers just because of Gerrard. But if there was no Gerrard there, it would be Celtic all day. Big Mike or Big Mick 3 says, Ade, do you think Eddie Hearn and Sky Sports have used Khan to get Brook back in the public eye by making Khan look like the bad guy? And also, do you think it's refreshing to see a boxer like Khan never let promoters dictate anything to him? He does what he wants, whether it was leaving Frank for Heyman or leaving Heyman for Sky, or even stand up to Sky Sports and taking the Crawford fight. Yes, in answer to that question, I agree with everything you've said. I don't agree with the first part, though, about using Khan to make Brook look good and that's Khan bad. But I love what Khan's doing in terms of taking his career into his own hand. Who are we, and I mean this, and I've done some videos dissing Khan, but who are we to dictate to people that get punched in the face for a living what they should do? You get punched in the face. I mean, you can go into the ring and lose your life, and somehow we should dictate what they do. Let them do what they do. And I applaud people like Khan and David Haye that have taken their careers into their own hands and earned millions in doing it. Mojo says, do you think Billy Joe could beat Canelo, GGG, Jacobs if he's at his best? No, I don't. I think their best versus his best, I think they win. I think that Billy Joe Saunders is living off this David Lemieux performance a bit, and I need to see him against someone else. That's why the Andrade pullout was so bad. I need to see him against someone else, not David Lemieux, because let's be honest, GGG smashed David Lemieux. Canelo would rip his head off, and so would Jacobs. Steve Hardy asks, I'd like to hear your opinion on Amir Khan and his decision to base himself in America the majority of his career after 15 fights or so. And what do you feel he benefits and the drawbacks of doing that? It's quite different compared to what we see now with all British title fights happening in stadiums and building the atmosphere. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, as it's unusual. Can't think of any British fighter other than maybe Prince Nassim in the last 20 years who took their career path to fight away a lot of the time. It's worked for him. I mean, that's the simple answer. It's worked for Khan. And I think he left at a time when there wasn't big stadium fights. There wasn't even sold out arenas that much. He left at a time which was right for him. And look at the fights he's had in America. I mean, bloody hell. The list, Maidana, Zab Judah, Malignaggi, Lamont Peterson, Danny Garcia, Collazo, Alexander, Canelo, Crawford, tick, tick, tick for Amir Khan. And again, it's someone that's taken his career the way he wanted it to go. We have this thing in the UK where we think big time boxing is here. It's over there, really. I hate to admit that. I mean, I think Anthony Joshua has maybe changed the logic a bit, but really and truly, 90% of the big fights are there. And I even feel like, aside from Joshua and maybe Tony Bellew, I think all the British fighters' dreams are to fight MSG or Las Vegas. Chris Golden says, I'm a big Palace fan, although I'm not looking forward to Saturday's game. It's just gone. We won. I was at the famous Cristambul 3-3 draw with Liverpool a few years back. Now Liverpool have strengthened with Van Dijk and Alisson. Do you believe they can hold off City? And if they do win the title, what will you be drinking? I have to be honest with you, I'll probably be crying myself to sleep if Liverpool win the title. I cried after they won the Champions League. So I'd probably be crying myself to sleep after they win the title. And it's funny this, because obviously being from London, everyone looks at me and calls me a Cockney Scouser. And look, I had no choice in this. My dad came from Nigeria. And at the time, I think John Barnes was the best player in the world. And he loved John Barnes. And John Barnes at the time had just moved from Watford to Liverpool. And my dad followed suit, basically. And so I grew up Liverpool, 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 Liverpool. So I had no choice. So Liverpool's in my blood. Sometimes I wish I could get rid of it, and I can't. With regards to the Van Dijk and Alisson question, I think Van Dijk and Alisson get a lot of credit, but Robertson. I mean, you ask a lot of Liverpool fans, who's your best player? And a lot of them will say Robertson, like hardcore fans. I think a lot of the people that are somewhat casual fans will probably mention Salah or Van Dijk. Robertson is a big favourite for everyone at Liverpool, just because you almost look at him and he looks working class, and I think that's why we appreciate him. James Rye says, hey Ade, out of the top ranked heavyweights, who do you think Usyk would beat, and what weight do you see him coming in at if he does move up? I think he would beat everyone outside the top three. I really do. I know a lot of people have mentioned people like Jarrell Miller just being too big. Thinks he beat him. I think he beats Jarrell Miller comfortably. I think his movement would be too much for him. He literally could stop Jarrell Miller in the later rounds. Ortiz would be a problem as well, because Ortiz is a good boxer. I think the other guys are not just big, but they're tall and they can box a bit as well. And Wilder's just fucking awkward. So I think out of the top three, I think he could beat everyone. In terms of the weight, I think he might do something like a David Haye and come in quite light. He's all about movement and boxing. And I feel like another 2 stone on that frame would just stop all that. So I think he needs to come in light so he can do that kind of good lateral movement he did against Tony Bellew. John Brett Smith asked, do you think Eddie being so open about his offers in interviews with Coogan hinders him in negotiations? Yeah, I've said this before, he needs to stop it. I mean, again, look, it's good for us, but even Andre Ward tweeted this recently that no boxer wants to hear another promoter talking about their purse and splits. And Eddie Hearn, I think, mentions it too much now. Stop it. Mr. KWX Ben 1966, the craziest name on YouTube, says, if boxing is the harder they come, you know the film, who will be cashing out when AJ fights Fury or Wilder? And is Broner being cashed out this weekend, or is there more for him? I'm not sure about Broner. Broner's still a good draw regardless, and hence why he gets all these little gifts that he gets. And he does good numbers, right? He does good numbers when Showtime comes on. I'm not sure about how the pay-per-view numbers will be for this Pacquiao fight, but again, that could be down to Pacquiao more than Broner. So yeah, they're not cashing out Broner. If Pacquiao was like 26, 27, then yeah, but you wouldn't cash him out against a 40-year-old Pacquiao. Regards to the AJ one, I don't know who they'll cash out, because I have no idea who can win those fights. AJ, Fury, Wilder, I honestly think they could all beat each other. I really do. Rahul Rai asks, how well would Vitaly Klitschko have done in the current day heavyweight scene? He's held in such high regard by fans, but it's a shame that there was barely anyone great for him to fight during his era. I think Klitschko would have decapitated everyone in the heavyweights right now. Everybody would have got it. Everyone. That guy was as mean as they come. I know people might say, yeah, but he didn't fight anyone. Don't care. He would have imagine if he had the opportunity Vlad got when Vlad hurt AJ. It's lights out. It's lights out. And I think everyone that knows boxing knows that. Sean David Foley says, hi, Ade. Been a listener back to Box Talk days. Thank you, brother, because that was a while ago. Thank you very much. Do you think enough is being done to regulate drug cheats in boxing? And do you feel the seemingly grey areas between testing bodies allow boxers to essentially cheat legally? Nothing's being done. No one gives a fuck. I'll be honest with you, no one gives a fuck. I mean, look at Canelo, cheated openly, got caught twice. No one cares now he's fighting Jacobs. It's like it's been forgotten. Billy Joe Saunders cheated against Andrade. No one seems to care anymore. Now everyone's, like a few people have asked questions about Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, even Tyson Fury cheated. Everyone forgets that. Tyson Fury cheated. I mean, he failed a drug test in the lead up to his second Vladimir Klitschko fight. Again, forgotten because he put on that amazing performance against Deontay Wilder. People care more about what happens in the 100-meter sprint than they do about two guys getting in the ring, kicking the shit out of each other. Crazy. BG London says, if Wilder beats Joshua and Fury, do you think he will get respect from the UK fans? Absolutely. UK fans, we do support our Brits, but I think we really do appreciate a good international star as well. We do. The response that Usyk got when he came over and beat Bellew was phenomenal. We love when the stars come over, which is why I think we're always shocked when we watch some of these big fights in America and the arenas are half full. It's like, come over here and fight. They'll be packed out. Honestly, they'll be packed out. Joe Lloyd asked, if you had a choice between these two wishes, which would you choose? AJ versus Wilder or Manchester United to be relegated? As much as I hate United, and I do hate them, that's the game I look forward to every single season. So when the fixture list comes out, that's the one I look forward to because that's the one that gets my heart racing. So I need for them to be in the Premier League. So if I had a choice, they wouldn't be relegated. I'd rather just see AJ versus Wilder. Omar Gulad asked, who do you consider to be the biggest sports stars currently across all sports? And who could you see dominating in the next generation? For me, I've got Mbappe, Mahomes, am I saying that right? From American football, and Zion Williamson, who I do know for college basketball. The biggest stars now for me are Ronaldo, ginormous. Ronaldo's massive. Go and check his Instagram following. LeBron James, I think, is pretty big. Serena Williams is still huge, and Roger Federer. I think those 4 stars are huge. In terms of ones coming up, I don't think Mbappe's got that crossover appeal. I don't know if Mbappe will be. I get why you say that, but I'm not sure. I think Zion Williamson will be, especially if he goes to the draft this year or next year, and starts NBA next season. I think he will be, but I'm not sure about Mbappe. And as for American football, that guy, I can't lie to you, I've not heard of him before. Boxing Monkey says, hotel room, one night only. Prime. That's a good one. Hotel room, one night only. Prime Serena Williams or prime Naomi Campbell? That's a good question. For all you feminists out there, please don't get angry with this response. Serena. Serena. Basically, what you're asking me is, do I want something slim and sexy, supermodel, or do I want something a bit chunky? One night only, bottle of Jack Daniels, Serena Williams. Serena. Prime Serena. D-Pog says, do you think LeBron is the GOAT like he claims? No, I don't. What do you think of James Harden lately? I'm not a fan of James Harden. I can't lie to you. Look, he's a great basketball player, but he's a regular season guy for me. When it comes to the playoffs, he just disappears. So he'll get all the points. He'll probably be MVP this season. Maybe Stephen Curry might chase him, or Giannis. But I can't lie to you, I'm not a big fan of James Harden. I think he's just a stat filler. Mojo says, who do you think is the best welterweight right now? And who would win, White versus Usyk? I think Usyk would beat White. I really do. I think White's still got a lot of holes, and I think Usyk would just eventually, as the fight goes on, unless he gets tagged, which I think he's good enough not to get tagged, will just work those holes out, and it will just eventually just grind down White. I don't think he'll stop him, but I think he'll win a wide points decision. Who do you think is the best welterweight right now? I'm going to say something controversial and say Keith Thurman. And And people might say, what? Because everyone obviously thinks Spence or Crawford. The fact remains, Keith Urban was a 2-belt world champion. He beat Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. Crawford hasn't beaten anyone at 147 yet. No one, please mention Jeff Horner Benavidez or even Amir Khan if he beats him. And Spence has only beat Kell Brook. I need to see one more from Spence. Spence could be the heir to the throne, the heir apparent to Mayweather, but I need to see a bit more. Sunny Singh says, be careful with the questions you answer, or how you answer them, I should say. As with all these social justice wankers around, you don't want to get flagged. It's funny he says this because the Q&A I did, I think the first one, someone actually didn't like one of my answers and sent a tweet to Fox Sports. Obviously, I just got the job with Fox Sports, and Fox Sports actually had a word with me. So he's right, there are a lot of social justice wankers out there. People, get serious, please. My question is, if you could watch one sport for the rest of your life, would it be football or boxing? It's not football, it's Liverpool, right? I can't ever get rid of Liverpool from my life. I can't lie to you. I love boxing. I do, but I love Liverpool more. Sometimes I wish I could divorce myself from it. I can't. So I wouldn't choose football. I would choose Liverpool because I'm not a big football fan. I wouldn't sit down and watch every game. I watch every fucking minute of Liverpool. So Liverpool over boxing all day long, people. BG London asks, if you had a choice between being an undisputed boxer or Cristiano Ronaldo level footballer, who would it be? Ronaldo level footballer all day long. Think about Ronaldo. Think about football and just in general. I mean, these guys sit on 5-year contracts. I mean, you could get injured, break your leg, be out for a whole season, still get paid. You're still getting that money, right? You look at someone like Ox, for example, for Liverpool. He might not play for us again this season. Still getting paid, still getting 100 grand a week regardless. A boxer, it could be over in one night. And I'm not just saying over where you don't fight again. I'm saying over where, unfortunately, we've seen the situations there. Gerald McClellan, Adonis Stevenson. I could list off names after names after names. Ronaldo all day long. Anders Bell asks, Ade, how well do you think Hearn's takeover of US boxing is going so far? Not very well. Do you know anything about the DAZN ratings? Nope. Second question is, at the moment, his top fighters are Usyk, Jacobs, Andrade, Bivol, Roman, and Hooker. Eddie spoke about signing a superstar. Has he lived up to that goal with his current stable, or does he still need to sign the likes of Mikey Garcia or Javonte Davis? He'll never get Javonte from Al Heyman or Jarrett Hurd to rewrite that wrong. Yeah, he does. He's in this weird situation because you look at the names you just mentioned there, Usyk, Jacobs, Andrade, Bivol, all good names, all good fighters, all world champions. But that's not enough to get people signing up. You do need, unfortunately, I fucking hate to say it, you do need like an Adrian Broner. You do need like a Javonte Davis. You need those guys. I don't know if he's going to get them. I think he either overestimated how powerful he was with this new money or underestimated how powerful Al Heyman was. And that's the problem. I still think he's doing good things with DAZN. I don't think DAZN will even try to get out of this deal with Matchroom. I think Eddie Hearn is almost become the face of DAZN. When I think of DAZN, I think of Eddie Hearn. And I think they like that. I think they needed a face for the brand, and I think he does very well. If you think of all the promoters out there, I don't think anyone would have fitted in with DAZN as well as Eddie Hearn does. DAZN's a new product to the market. Eddie Hearn's almost new, right? I know he's been around for a while, but he's new to the American market. He's flashy. He understands this new generation, the younger generation, a lot better than some of the old dinosaurs in the promotion business. I just think it works well for them. So even though it's not been a great start, I think he will get it right. I do think he will look at how he's got it right in the UK. Jeremiah Victor says, Ade, you make bare video promises and never follow through. I think he's talking about the fact that I said I will sit down with the likes of Fight Hype, Ryan, Hatman, and Ultra. You just get so busy. I'll be honest with you, dude. You get so busy. Plus, I have reached out to a couple of them, and a couple of them did say they didn't want to be on camera, so I did try. Ethan H says, why are people talking about Crawford versus Khan as if it's boxer versus puncher? Surely people don't think Amir Khan is a better boxer than Terence Crawford. They do. They do. And to be fair, Amir Khan is a good boxer. I mean, you don't get silver medals at the Olympic Games for free. Amir Khan can box. The problem for Amir Khan is that when someone hits him, the red mist descends and he turns from a boxer into a fighter. Let's not forget, for the first 5.5 rounds against Canelo, Amir Khan was outboxing Canelo. So he can box. Is he as good a boxer as Crawford? Don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't think it's as far-fetched or the gap is as far as we think. I think Amir Khan will cause Crawford some problems. I think Crawford will win, but it will be very interesting to see how Crawford handles that speed. Amir Khan is fucking lightning when he goes. Anthony Moore says, greetings. Are you and Ryan not going to do a video? Unfortunately not. Our schedules just don't match at the moment. But look, everyone thinks we're beefing. Guys, let me just set the record straight. We're not beefing. Ryan is like my brother. Honestly, it's just a case of he's on his path, I'm on my path, and our paths just don't align right now. De Gea or Eubank? Haven't thought of it. Honestly, just about to say De Gea there. Absolutely no idea. I wouldn't be shocked with any result. Honestly, I have no idea. I wouldn't be shocked if Eubank stops De Gea stops Eubank, wide points for De Gea, Eubank nicks it. Nothing would shock me in that fight. Do you think Brook and Khan fight will ever happen? Nope. Do you think Wilder and Fury refusing the AJ fight will cause more damage to his brand rather than theirs? Absolutely. Brand AJ, I'm not going to say it's in trouble, but look, the fact is, they are 1, 2, and 3 in the world. I think whatever order you have it in, my order keeps changing. Now, we've got 2 of the 3 are going to fight each other. And AJ is going to fight Jarrell Miller, who's number, 9 or 10. That will hurt your brand. I don't care what anyone says. That will hurt your brand. Because everyone now will say the winner of that fight is number 1 in the world and AJ drops down to number 3. It's just going to happen. Not a question at all, but keep up with the videos. You're doing a good job. Thank you, brother. And you're very authentic. I'm doing that because he done that. MH asks, is Billy Joe Saunders the best example of the biggest waste of his own talent in British boxing in recent history? He seems to self-destruct at any given opportunity. He is. I mean, I actually thought Tyson Fury was the biggest waste before, but he's got his life back together. So, look, Billy Joe Saunders can definitely do it. But, I mean, look, Billy Joe Saunders had that performance against David Lemieux in December. And the thing is, David Lemieux wasn't a killer. I mean, he didn't beat a world champion. He beat a guy that's fringe world elite level. And he hasn't had a fight for a year, then came back and fought at cruiserweight. Had that drug issue with Andrade. Big waste of space. Andres Gomez asks, what do you think of MMA fighters like Zabit, Paulo Costa, Ben Askren, and Israel Adesanya? I don't know much about MMA, but they seem really skillful to me. Do you think they're just hype or legit? They're legit. They're legit. For those of you that don't know too much about these guys, Israel Adesanya is a middleweight in the UFC division. He fights Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is probably one of the greatest of all time. They fight in Australia. Ben Askren was a guy that never ever fought in the UFC. He used to fight for other organizations, is now fighting in the UFC. Fights a guy called, my memory is gone, Robbie Lawler coming up. That's going to be a good fight. Paulo Costa is definitely on the juice. Google Paulo Costa and tell me he's not on the juice. And Zabit is just a monster. So yeah, you're right. All good fighters, all probably future world champions. Bob Jim says, what do you think the public's reaction will be to AJ's next few opponents? Miller, then Pulev/Jennings. It won't be Jennings anymore. Obviously, Jennings lost on the weekend. Will it affect his UK popularity pay-per-views? Don't know. I think the hardcore fans, we will destroy him. I think the casual fans won't mind. I mean, look, people weren't too happy about Joshua versus Povetkin at Wembley. Still got, 78,000, and they done 1.16 million pay-per-view buys. There you go. Impodium says, hi, Addy, love the videos, by the way. Fantasy matchup. If you could have any fighters from today fight someone from the past in their respective weight class, who would you pick and why? Simple answer to that one is Sugar Ray Leonard versus Floyd Mayweather, because that's the one I hear about all the time. Floyd thinks he's the greatest ever. I think Sugar Ray Leonard would have beaten him at welterweight. It would have been a good fight, don't get me wrong, because Floyd is phenomenal. But I think at welterweight, I think Sugar Ray Leonard beats him. I really do. I think Floyd's best weight class was lightweight. I really do. People think I'm crazy, but I think Floyd at 135, frightening. At welterweight, I think that Sugar Ray Leonard might just be a bit too fast for him. And that's unbelievable because Floyd was super fast. But I think Sugar Ray Leonard was powerful, fast, accurate, and just spiteful. So it'd be a good fight, but I think that would be my choice. Cedric Zelme asked, do you watch the German Bundesliga? And do you think Schalke has a chance against Man City? I don't really watch too much Bundesliga, but look, I'll be honest with you. I think the only team that will beat Man City this season in the Champions League is either a British team, so Liverpool, or Juventus. I think they'll do Barcelona. I think they'll do anyone else. Real Madrid, obviously they've lost Ronaldo and they're not the same. So I think Juventus are the only problem for Man City. I think they're that good, and I hate saying that. Cedric Zelma asked another question. Ade, are you going in the gym? What is your training routine? What is your normal nutrition? I do go to the gym. I go to the gym probably 4 or 5 times a week. Probably can't see that, but I do go. And my nutrition is, I'm very healthy, people. I can't lie to you. I know I joke about the alcohol and stuff like that, but I'm very, very healthy. My dad passed away 15 years ago due to high blood pressure, and he passed away from a stroke. And because of that, I always am so conscious about food and diet, just because I don't want that to be my life as well, because everyone talks about things being passed down and shit. So yeah, I am very, very healthy. So, I mean, in the morning, for example, I would always have like oats with bananas and water. That would be my kind of breakfast in the morning. He asked another question. Can you live with a YouTube channel, or do you do something else? Yeah, I don't make any money from YouTube. Can't lie to you. I mean, the channel got monetized about 4 weeks ago. You probably have noticed it through the adverts and stuff, but I make hardly any money from YouTube. I do make money in boxing because I work for Fox Sports in Africa and Kwesi Sports in Africa and a few other channels around the world as well. So that's where my money comes in from. Walkman85 says, a nice easy one for you. Who was your favorite boxer from the 70s, 80s, 90s? 70s, Muhammad Ali. 80s, Tyson. 90s is a good one. 90s, free. I can't choose between these, if I'm honest with you. Prince Nassim Hamed, Nigel Benn, Roy Jones Jr. Favorite boxing movie, Rocky. All day. All day. Nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. Also, do you own a watch? If so, which watch? And what watches do you own? I do own a few good ones as well. I'm not going to say, because it's not about that life. I'm not doing a Mayweather on you. Ethan H asks if there are any fights that you really want to see that aren't the obvious ones, like Joshua, Wilder, Fury, Garcia, Loma, great fight. Spence, Crawford, another great fight. For example, I really want to see Inoue versus Rigondeaux. Fuck me, that'd be a good one. Maybe not anymore. I'm not quite sure about Rigondeaux. I know he came back recently and won, but Inoue can fucking hit that kid. The one I really want to see is Gervonta Davis versus Tevin Farmer, because they've got real beef. I don't know what it is, but when it's real beef, something there about it. It must be growing up in the 90s with Ben and Eubank, and recently with Chisora versus White. Nothing better than real beef in boxing. Not that it makes the fight any special, but I think that could be a good one between those two. Milo Poo, I hope I'm saying Poo right, spelled P-U-G-H. Poo? Says, loving the channel, what is your favorite music genre? And also, how far can Yard go in your opinion? Who would win between Yard and Buatsi? If they were to fight, I think Buatsi would beat him. I think it actually would be quite comfortable. I'm not quite sure how far they can go. I mean, look, last night we saw Marcus Brown beat Badu Jack. They're not even the top light heavyweights. And look how good they were. They're not even the top light heavyweights. Look how good Marcus Brown looked. So just below the world champions, there's about 4 or 5 guys that are killers. Just below them. So, I mean, good luck to both Yard and Buatsi, but I think it might take a couple of years for them to get to that level. In terms of music, I'm a massive Tupac fan, like gigantic. Huge, by the way. But in terms of the music I like to just to listen, to chill out, I like neo soul. So that's like Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Anthony Hamilton, D'Angelo, that type of music. Love it. FIFA Junior asks, hi Ade, loving the content right now. Thank you, brother. What's more dangerous, Deontay Wilder's right hand or Dillian White's left hook? Wilder's right hand, because you don't know where that shit's coming from. That fucker, I mean, it comes from over here. Can you even see that? From here? From here? It comes from anywhere. Don't get me wrong, White's left hook is good, but you see it coming. I mean, if you're a good boxer, you can avoid it. I don't know how you avoid Wilder's right hand, because you just don't see it coming. So yeah, good luck to anyone who gets in the ring with him. Rockstar in 1996 says, what's your top 5 favorite weight divisions? Let's start with my favorite. Middleweight. Yeah, middleweight. Cruiserweight was, but obviously it's kind of changing right now. But there was a time with cruiserweight, so I'm going to say that because it still kind of is. We don't know if Usyk's still going to be in the cruiserweight division. Light heavyweight, because it's absolutely stacked. Welterweight, because it is stacked. Heavyweight, because it's getting stacked. Shevon Bodie says, if AJ versus Wilder happens later this year and AJ gets knocked out by Wilder in back-to-back fights, Does AJ become Frank Bruno 2.0, or is he still a sports god in the UK? He probably does become Bruno 2.0, unfortunately. And he still will probably be a god, if I'm honest with you. Look, Bruno had a couple of heavy defeats, and we still loved Bruno, right? Bruno became a legend, still is a legend. And I think AJ's fan base right now will still stay behind him. I don't know if it will be behind him enough where he still does stadiums, but I still think it will stay behind him, especially if he comes back and has a couple of big wins. President Torres, like the surname, says, who do you think is the man in the light heavyweight division, and who will be the last man standing in terms of skills, pedigree, and true grit? That's a fucking tough question. But you've got to go Alvarez because he stopped Kovalev. I mean, I know Ward stopped Kovalev before, but regardless, that's a big win. You got to like Godzik as well because of the win over Adonis Stevenson. But if I had to choose one, I would choose Alvarez. Top three would be Alvarez, Godzik, if that's his name, and Bivol. I'm not sure about Bertabiev. I know everyone's high on Bertabiev, but I've seen chinks in that armour. Obviously, we saw Callum Johnson put him down recently. Kashif POV says, do you think that Wilder or Fury would sign with Hearn eventually? Who would be your choice for Usyk's first heavyweight? For me, it's someone like Takam, just to get used to the weight and to get a bit of experience against a good heavyweight. Takam's a good name. It's a good name. It's an easy fight to make now. Takam obviously has a good relationship with Matchroom. He's been on a few fight cards. 3, right? Joshua, Chisora, and the one recently against that, was it a German kid? I can't remember. So that's a good name for Usyk. I'm thinking someone like that as well. Do I think Wilder or Fury will sign with Hearn? Possibly. I wouldn't rule these things out. I know people do, but look, Amir Khan signed with Hearn. And imagine the shit Hearn said about Amir Khan. It's all about the check. All about the check. Fighters always talk about that loyalty. It's rubbish, right? You're getting punched in the face. If someone offers you 5 million, someone offers you 6, you go with 6. Simple. Finn White says, got 3 questions for you. The first one's a boxing one. Do you think any boxer will ever get a lifetime ban for PEDs? No, not at all. Will never happen. Never happen. I mean, look, Canelo cheated twice and got 6 months. I mean, you'd have to kill someone in the ring. And even then, I probably think you get 2 years. Second one is a football question. How long will it take to get the first £500 million player? And what will Liverpool win the league by? I reckon 12 points. 12 points? No chance. Look, I think we'll probably win it on fucking goal difference. And that might not even happen. Look, if Liverpool win the league by a point, it's red panty night. It's red panty night. First £500 million player will happen. I mean, how much did Mbappe cost? Wasn't it nearly 200? We sold Coutinho to Barcelona for 142 million. It's going to happen. I'd say about 6 years. Ethan H asks, who would win a fantasy fight between Andre Ward and Joe Calzaghe? Ooh. Fence sitting on that one. Good question. Both retired unbeaten. I mean, fucking hell. Ward. No, Calzaghe. Don't know. Anusa Rahman says, what is the best fight you have seen live at ringside, taking into account the build-up, entertainment value of the fight and the atmosphere in the arena stadium? I've been to so many, but I'm going to have to say Joshua Povetkin, have to. And look, I remember going to my first boxing event, York Hall, Bethnal Green. What does that hold? 1,500, 2,000? The idea of someone fighting in a stadium just doesn't even make sense to me. When he came out and they turned the lights down and everyone turned their phone lights on, epic. Joe Mansfield says, Joe Joyce or Jarrell Miller, who wins? I'm not a fan of either. I have to be honest. I think Jarrell Miller would beat him. I think Jarrell Miller might stop him, in fact. Seb Owen asked, Terence Crawford versus Sugar Ray Leonard in his prime, who wins? Sugar Ray Leonard out of his prime would beat Terence Crawford. Cedric Zelmet says, what was the best era of boxing? I'm going to have to say 70s/80s. That's cheeky, but 2 eras. Solomon Latif says, what was your childhood like, bro? Good. I was actually born in Nigeria. I moved to England when I was baby, Went to Brighton first, actually. Was in Brighton until I was 9, then moved to London, Stratford, where I am now. Good. Fucked up. Kicked out of school a couple of times. Had fights. Girls. The usual. Mighty Iron says, who do you think the best heavyweight in the world is right now? Tyson Fury. Original Individual says, has Frampton's legacy been affected by his loss to Warrington? Only if Warrington gets starched in his next fight. If Warrington goes on to have good fights against the likes of Valdez or Gary Russell Jr. or even Leo Santa Cruz, then it doesn't look bad on Frampton at all. Khalid W says, what fighting matchups do you want to see but realistically probably won't happen? Crawford Spence, please God, let that happen, please. But the one I really want to see, which won't happen now, it is Mikey Garcia versus Lomachenko. I mean, grab your popcorn and sit down and watch probably the best boxing experience of your life if those two ever get in the ring. Won't happen though. Michael Wilson says, who is your favorite fighter today? Just mentioned him, Vasyl Lomachenko, all day long. I mean, I could literally just watch this guy warm up. That's how good I think he is. The right hand of Hearn says, Hearns versus Leonard 2, was it the right decision or did you have a winner? Hearns beat him. I'm a massive Leonard fan. Leonard's probably in my top 3 fighters of all time, my own opinion, not in terms of record and resume and stuff. But Hearns beat him in that second fight. Saki Hussein asks, Prime Joe Fraser versus Wilder, Fury or AJ? Whew, I hate this question. Hate it. Size must play a factor somewhere, surely. I mean, look, Joe Fraser's a top 10 heavyweight of all time, in my opinion. But he was tiny. I mean, he could have been, at best, I'm going to say he was 5'10". These guys are 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", can hit like trucks. I mean, Foreman made Joe Fraser look like a midget. It almost looked like 3 or 4 different weight classes apart. Foreman is small compared to these guys. Foreman was what, 6'3", 6'4"? These guys are huge. So as much as it pains me to say it, I think they would beat him. I think they'd, maybe not Fury, because Fury's more of a boxer and Fraser could catch up with him. But the power of Wilder and AJ, I mean, that power was ridiculous. Dean in London 86. I'm not saying his name twice like the MC. That's just how he's written his name. Ask, people put Crawford and Spence in the pound for pound list. How do you think they would have matched up if they were fighting the same level of opponents that Khan had faced over the last 8 to 10 years? Especially when you consider they're pretty much the same age or older than him. I think they would have beaten anyone that Khan had fought in the last 8 to 10 years apart from Canelo. I can see Spence beating even the ones that Khan lost to, like Garcia and Lamont Peterson. I think Crawford and Spence are good enough to have beaten everyone that Khan beat. So Zab Judah. Maidana would have been interesting for Crawford. But Spence is strong. Spence is big and strong. So I think they would have beaten all of Khan's opponents. Eunice Charles asks, hi Ade, love the channel. What is your 1 rep max on bench press? 160 kilograms. So your 2020, 160 kilograms, 2020, 2010, 2020, 2010 plus the bar, 20 kilos. It's a lot, right? Organics Herbal Supplements, I like that name. Ask, my first time submitting questions. Please forgive me if I was only supposed to submit 1 question. Not a problem, brother. Do you consider yourself an expert on boxing or a fan privileged to have an insider's view? Bit of both, if I'm honest with you. I don't actually consider myself an expert on boxing. Let me take that back. And I think the reason I don't is because I watch so many different sports. If I solely focus on just boxing, I think my knowledge would be crazy. But I watch and study so many different sports. Just because if an opportunity came across to go on TV and talk about anything, I'd like to put myself forward. Almost like what kind of Max Kellerman does, right? Where everyone perceives him to be a boxing man, but now he talks about NBA, NFL, baseball, everything. So that's the problem. A fan privileged to have an insider's view? Yeah, I am a fan. Obviously, I've got an insider's view because I work in boxing, so I'm a fan of it. Do you think living in the States for a year or so would change your perception of the sport? I think my perception would go higher, if I'm honest with you. I'd love to go to some of those gritty back alley gyms in Philly and Detroit that we don't really have here in the UK. Plus, let's be honest, majority of the boxing, or the best boxing anyway, happens over there. And we get some good fights in the UK now, but growing up on the TV screens, it was all about America. And I think going over there and actually being that close to some of the best action would be phenomenal. Do you prefer fiction or non-fiction? Fiction. Who is your favorite author and who are you most inspired by? A guy called Lee Child. I've actually got, my bookshelf is here. I've got every Lee Child book. And for those of you that don't know, Lee Child is the guy that wrote Jack Reacher, right? Tom Cruise film, which was ridiculously cast. I mean, how Tom Cruise was playing Jack Reacher, I don't know. Look, I've got so many, literally, this is just a quick handful. Lee Child, Lee Child, everything. So, massive Lee Child fan. Don't know why I just threw him like that, shit. Massive Lee Child fan. I've got all of his books. I think it's about 20, 22, I've got all of them. Phil B, actually, sorry, one more question. Says, which one, sci-fi, horror, or sports-themed movies? None of them, if I'm honest with you. I'm more action or thriller, more thriller. I like a film with a bit of a twist, and I don't think you get that from sci-fi, horror, or sports-themed movies. Not that I dislike them, but they're not my top things. Phil B asks, are you related to Gina Yashere? No, I am not. I'm better looking than that, come on. Although, growing up in East London, I did used to go to her. She used to do like shows at Hackney Central. I used to go there a lot. Sorry, Hackney Empire. I used to go there a lot. Ethan H says, if Andrade and Saunders were to fight, who would you be picking to win? Saunders. I like Andrade, but I'm still not convinced yet. Still not convinced. I wasn't super impressed with the Akeva performance. Yeah, he got the win, but not super impressed. Sparky Fister asks, how did you end up with Fox Sports? Good question, and I'll be very honest about it. So I work for Kwesi Sports in Africa. So Kwesi Sports are almost, and this is for the UK viewers, I don't know how the US viewers would, I don't know how to kind of answer it for the US viewers, but Kwesi Sports are almost like BT Sports, right? They're new, they're big on the market, chucking a lot of money at things. And I heard that Fox Sports, I'm always on LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is my best friend. I'm always on LinkedIn. And I found out through LinkedIn that Fox Sports were coming to Africa to do boxing. And I knew it would be difficult because working for Fox Sports was almost like working for BT Sports and Sky Sports. And I knew that was going to be a bit of a funny thing or hard thing to do. But I still reached out to the guy on LinkedIn and said, look, I cover boxing in Africa at the moment. If you ever need someone. They didn't get back to me. They used Paul Dempsey instead, who does a lot of good things. No bad word to say about Paul Dempsey. And then about, I don't know, August, I got an email saying, what's your situation with Kwesi Sports? Would like for you to come down and do a reading. I came down, almost had like an audition. They were impressed. They liked my vibe, my attitude, and they offered me something. Didn't hear back from them. Then in November, they called me and said, look, we want to use you on our show. What's your rate? Told them my rate, was scared, waiting for it to come back. They accepted, got the gig, impressed, and now I've got the next 5 or 6 gigs. So yeah, that's how it worked. Simon Ghost Ride, he says, who wins, Ricky Hatton or Amir Khan at 140 in their primes? Collazo is their only mutual fight. Yeah, Collazo is, but the Collazo Ricky Hatton fought was way better than the Collazo Amir Khan fought. I mean, the Collazo Ricky Hatton fought, I think, beat Andre Berto. I actually think beat Ricky Hatton and had a close fight with Shane Mosley. Khan done well against him as well. I thought Khan at 140 was very good. I think that's the best Khan I've seen, 140 Khan. Fast, strong, everything, right? I think Khan with Freddie Roach, although not defensively good, offensively was just a nightmare. But I do think that Ricky Hatton would catch up to him, would take a few, and if he could survive Khan's onslaught, would get in close, go to the body, and then as soon as he lands on the chin, unfortunately for Khan, it's lights out. SD1 says, what are your honest thoughts on Mike Tyson's career? Don't get me wrong, he is a freak of nature, but I think he was overrated. I too think he was overrated, and when I say overrated, is that because when you speak to a lot of boxing fans, they think Mike Tyson was the greatest thing since sliced bread or was a top 5 heavyweight. He wasn't that. In saying that, you're right, he was a freak of nature. To think of a 21-year-old knocking out grown men, don't make sense to me. Don't make sense to me. When you think of it now, 20-year-old, 20, 3 years out of school, 4 years, sorry, knocking men out. Unbelievable. But I know what you mean. I do think he was slightly overrated when you talk about the great heavyweights of all time. People that maybe don't know too much about boxing mention Mike Tyson's name, and I don't think he makes the top 10, maybe even not top 15. Leo Donald asks, Suarez or Torres? That's a fucking tough question. But I've had this argument with people before. For me, Torres. I mean, I loved Fernando Torres. I mean, you understand, Torres came around the time that we had the likes of Milan Barros, Fernando Morientes, Gibril Cisse. No disrespect to those guys. Neil Mella. So, you get me? So when Torres came, I was like, my God, this is genuine world class. Like, we haven't had a striker since obviously Owen and Fowler left that you could actually say was legit. And Torres came and he was legit. So I wouldn't just pick Torres over Suarez. I'd pick Torres over Salah. I mean, that's how high I rated Torres. So Torres for me. Dan Edwards asks, Joburg girls, Cape Town girls, or one in each town? Feminists, don't get upset with this answer. But if, this is to the men out there, you're single and you've never been to Cape Town in your life, I'm sorry, tick it on your bucket list. You've got to go to Cape Town. You've got to. All right, that is it. We are done, people. We are done. Thank you to everyone that wrote a question. I think we might have broke the hour mark. Wow. So this is the longest video I've ever done, and I will never, ever do a video this long again. I did it without drinking as well. Come on, you've got to give me a thumbs up. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button. Again, I tried to answer the questions as honestly as possible. Hope you liked it. The next one will be end of February. But again, thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are watching me say this, which means you've watched the whole thing, please mention it so I can really appreciate you. Thank you again. Peace.